Gold standard fam, what is up? I'm gonna skip all of the usual, oh, look at me with my nice intros and all that shit, and I'm gonna go straight to Jacob. Please tell the world what your revenue is this month.
What a way to kick it off. So my revenue this month is 18, between 18 and 18 and a half thousand for this month.
Not if HMRC's asking though.
No, 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 no,
No,
no. Don't worry about it, Marcy.
no. I mean 18 bags for the year, bro. What are you talking about? What
Yeah,
you
yeah. No,
so
no, for the year it's below 12.
So this isn't a full disclaimer, full disclosure. Sorry, Jacob is one of my one-to-one clients, and as I always say, if I've got a client on the show, or even Joe, he's a client as well. I don't want it to turn into a testimonial. This has to be a celebration of you, dude. Like, and I have to kick off with that. The world needs to know that if you're sitting there thinking, "Oh yeah, man, I'm smashing it. I'm smashing it. Look at my lens flares." Like, you don't know what smashing it is. You don't know what commitment to the business is. And I want to give you a well done, Master Jacob. I'll be coming to you if I need to borrow some money in the future. So, Jacob, dude, give us a background on you. What I want to do today is talk about confidence. I think this is like me and Joe have talked about communication. We've talked about poor behavior, talked about discounts, numeracy, that type of things, revenue. And I think with you, you're like an absolute, you're a weapon, mate. You're an absolute weapon. You're a little bit of a Mona Lisa client as well, but don't tell Alfie I said that because he'll get upset. So I want to tap into finding out specifically on the confidence side of things, where your journey as a creative, as a shooter has been with confidence from day one up until the confidence that it's taken you to get to where you are. But before we get into that, give me a background on you, dude. Like how long you've been shooting. Kind of bring us up to today. Where did you start and where did we find you just now?
Sure. So I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. To start with, I first got into video when I realized I wasn't going to make it playing football, and it was like the next best thing. So about 6 years ago, I started doing music videos for my friends who were trying to make it doing music. Got into it that way.
Classic.
Um, Ended up in some dodgy places doing some drill videos. So I was like, okay, I scrapped that. Then I thought I wanted to be a film director, probably like many of you listening. Went to film school, was absolutely shite, didn't get on in with anyone. So then I finished film school or university, and it was like the first time I was outside the education system. Cut a long story short, I was in a pretty bad place. I was quite lost, and then I was just like, okay, let's try it on my own because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Found Gus, the main man, and yeah, started doing mainly fitness sort of videography. Been doing that for the sort of the last 2.5 years. Um, and yeah, just that sort of journey of working in the fitness space, then going into dental, going into more commercial spaces as well, sort of all different niches. Um, and yeah, I've been working with you now for probably what, a year and a half, coming up to 2 years now.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's like the brief overview. I'm sure we'll dive into it a little bit more.
The cool thing, thank you, dude. Thank you. The cool thing with that is immediately, if there's 50 videographers listening, I guarantee 47 of them just went, fuck, that was how I started.
Yeah,
We all start the same ways. We all start the same ways. And I think there's an element of, I don't know, there's an element of like Dear Diary, traumatic, just bullshit, like even anime and stuff that's like in our brains, and we get into creative because we can see life through a lens and it makes us feel like we're part of a movie and we're creative and we're doing all these different things. And I've had a lot of people that have came from the music space. And unfortunately, you're one of the very few that has came from the music space that has made it. Because the people that are in the music space usually tend to stay stuck there because they don't want to conform. They don't want to feel like they have a job. And unfortunately, guess what? To have a successful business, it often does feel like a job. You can change that word and you can call it duty if you want. But there's a lot of creative that's actually people's excuses for a fucking get out of jail free card because they don't want accountability. They don't want structure. They just want to fuck around and kind of feel cool. So you are one of the few people, mate, that I've had the pleasure, the absolute joy of fucking working with, that comes from creative and has that background and had a lack of decisiveness and a lack of identity when you started. But when we are able to say, cool, this is just your structure, this is where you want to be, cool, here's your steps to get there. Let's try it out and see how we go. So to keep in line with what I want to talk about on this, I was going to say session as if I was doing a coaching session there. On this episode, confidence, mate. And you're one of the people that I really want to pick. One of, so and then the rest of you are like, why didn't he pick me to talk about confidence? Don't worry, I'll probably be coming to you sooner rather than later. But I wanted to pick you, dude, because you're a bit of a RoboCop when it comes with the confidence. Like me and you have had big conversations over the years about, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I don't know what this client's doing. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I'm fucking going to jail. I don't know if they're going to turn up at the house. I'm stuck. I'm sitting in the car. What do I do? What do I say to this client? And without fail, mate, I've always been there on the other end of WhatsApp or the other end of the Instagram DMs. And I'm like, here's exactly what you say. Here's where your lack of confidence comes from. This is how we're going to battle it. And this is one step in the next 20. And you're going to have to keep doing this until you eventually realize that you're stacking bricks in that confidence wall. But it's also about, I talk about this a lot, and you'd probably agree with me about kind of wax on, wax off, like Mr. Miyagi type shit, where I'm like, you might not know why I'm getting you to have these T's and C's. You might not know why it's important to have this onboarding system. You might not 100% know why it's important to challenge your clients in these two different ways that I'm about to give you. But in 6 months' time, when a dentist comes along and says, we want a 5 grand job, you've built the confidence in this past 6 months to say, yeah, cool, that's what it is. 5 Gs, there's your invoice, pay it by the end of the day, and I'll see you on Saturday. As where previously your confidence would have been like, oh, I can't ask him for 50 quid for a hotel. No, I can't do that. I'll just sleep in my car. Who cares? I'll go and slum it with the homeless people in the town centre. So, talk to us about, in line with the confidence, dude, talk to us about the kind of experiences that you had. If there's something that pops into your brain about just where you were in the first days, like the type of fuck ups and the lack of confidence that you were experiencing in the first days as a shooter.
Yeah, so in terms of like confidence, like experiences that I've had, I think the main thing just came from having no education on business. There's something you say, and I feel like I'm gonna butcher it, but it's like someone who's not
Oh,
educated.
so it's a motivated idiot.
That's it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the thing is, I knew how to shoot roughly, like, but the business side of things, I just had no clue. And I feel like it's way more important. I'd say it's probably like 80% business knowledge, 20% of like actual being able to shoot. Because there's people out there who will make him way more money than who have got way worse work than the person who's making way less money just because they know about business, they
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
business, they have structures.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, to sort of go back, yeah, I just had no idea with business. So what would happen was I would go to a client and it would be on their terms. So
Hmm.
they would sort of set the boundaries. They'd be on the front foot, whereas I'll be on the back foot, more being reactive rather than a bit more responsive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like relationships as well. If you don't go in and set the boundary straight away, you don't know where you're gonna go. So yeah, it was just like situations where for one client, for example, like our first conversation, I would go in and be like this is what I offer, this is and that, and they were like, yeah, fuck that. I need you on a day rate. And I was on a day rate of like
Yes. Yes.
£80 or something like that. And there was one of my first clients, I was getting paid, what was it, £10 an hour to shoot.
Ooh.
I wasn't getting
Ooh.
paid to edit.
Right.
So yeah, this was before I actually was in the gold standard. So yeah, just having no business structure and you think you're the bollocks because you're getting paid to do video
Yeah.
when that's not really the case. Like you're probably better off getting a minimum wage job. You're actually getting paid more. So
Mm.
um,
And when you
yeah, it was
finish,
just.
when you
Go on.
finish at 5 o'clock, you don't have to fucking worry about anything. A
Exactly.
lot of shooters out there would be better off just
Yeah.
going to get a fucking job instead of ruining this industry that I'm trying to, I'm trying to help build. Yeah, that makes sense. Continue, mate. Sorry, I hijacked that there. Continue.
No, that's all right. No, I was just, basically just a bunch of times where I would let the client dictate what exactly what they wanted to happen, and I would just have no sort of boundaries or limits with where they were sort of taking it. Like, don't get me wrong, even now, like I'll bend a little bit if the client wants something and it's going to work for both of us.
Mm.
I'm more than happy to bend a little bit on what I'm offering, what I'm delivering, but it was more bending on the price in the early days, and the time, which is something you don't really want to do too much. So, yeah, a few experiences, a few day rate jobs, a few like all dayers, which were meant to be 2 hour shoots. You know the drill. Come and film a quick session at the gym, and you're
Yeah.
there fucking
11
God
hours
knows.
later, you've done 19
Yeah, that's it.
testimonials, three events, and a promo, and you're like, and you're asking, can I get a can of White Monster from the fridge? And they're like, if you pay for it, yeah. And you're like, what the fuck are you kidding me on? So to clarify on the what you were saying about the motivated idiot, it's a quote from Jim Rohn, and I heard this when I was 26, 26. I think I was 25, maybe. Yeah, 25 when I started like quote unquote personal development, psychological development. And I came across a seminar from Jim Rohn that was actually on YouTube. It's about 4 hours long, something like that. And he says, he was saying motivation alone won't get you very far because if you take an idiot and motivate him, now you have a motivated idiot. However, if you take an idiot and educate him, he's no longer an idiot. So see when that's a really interesting thing to pick up on when you're saying about everything is on the client's terms. Like what's the fear? What's the because I'll talk about this for me as well. The paralyzing fear of just give them a price that sounds good and just do whatever they ask. And even you're on a shoot and it's 6 hours more than what you thought it was going to be, but you don't speak up. You don't, there's nothing that you feel, there's no confidence you've got in your bones at all. Like, have you had paralyzing moments like that? Because I know I've had quite a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah, you do. I think the more paralyzing moments come, for me anyway, came from being at home, like dealing with inquiries and messages after the shoot, like changes, and it's just like all anxiety really is the unknown, like the fear of the unknown.
Oh,
And there was
look at
just
that.
a
False,
lot.
false, false evidence appearing real, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, that's it. So
Yeah.
there's just a lot of unknown. I think that's where the fear comes from. So for me, it was like I would deliver the content. Um, the client would say something along the lines of like, "Where's this? Where's this one we filmed?" Or like I had one example where a guy did a photo shoot, and I just, to be honest, I had no fucking idea what I was doing. I delivered the content, and he was just like, "Mate, this isn't
What
like
the fuck
anything
is
in the
this?
pictures." And it's just like, well, where do you even go from there?
Ooh.
Um, yeah, paralyzing fear is very real. It's very real.
For me, that was after shoots, and I always want to. I appreciate what you're saying about coaching the gold standard, etc. But I don't, I just want it to be about. I just want it to be about you, mate, as a shooter. That's the whole point why we have these conversations. So people listening, they know that they're not the only ones that are going through this fucking crippling doubt. So I appreciate what you're saying, but to bring it back to just the generalities of what shooters go through, I think the real crippling things were that not only do you not have any confidence in yourself because you're just a hobbyist, you don't actually have a business yet. It's like you can't wake up in the morning. The one quote was fucking stunning, absolutely stunning quote, and it was from Hormozy. And I think it was from Hormozy, and then Chris Williams quoted him. He said, shouting affirmations in the mirror is useless. You need to have a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you fucking say you are.
Mm,
And how long does it take you to build that stack? Well, how long's a fucking piece of string? Like
mm,
how long are you doing time under tension? Like I have this with part-time shooters, and you know that you were part time to an extent when we kind of came on, I think. Or were you full
Yeah.
time shooting at the start when you were in the kind of
Part
yeah?
time. Yeah.
So the interesting thing is if you pay attention to your confidence curve, I guarantee it went from 0 to 20 or 30 while you were part time. But then when you were full time, it went from 30 to 100 a lot quicker than you went from 0 to 30. And that's because your time under tension, your time in the trenches went up by 10x because you now had full time, which meant you were shooting full time, which meant you were getting your nails, your hands dirty more times than you were part time. So that allowed you to have more time under tension to build that confidence tissue. So I have it's one that I go through quite a lot with part time shooters, where it's harder for them to really build up that stack of proof that they are business owners, that they are who they say they are, because they don't shoot as much. So this is where you get. I think you were very similar. Who else was the same? Probably everyone actually. Fucking Hamza was the same. Joe was the same. Where I basically just smash the life out of you while you're part time, and I'm like, I don't care how busy you think you are. This has to happen because I need to get you used to being full time pressure whilst you're part time, or else when you'll never quit the job. You'll never have the confidence to quit your job. You'll never have the confidence to go full time, unless you get to a stage where, okay, something has to break. And what
Mm.
has to break is the full time job that is now holding you back, as where previously it was supporting you. Um, and from a confidence standpoint, I've got who's now Matt Flack. Shout out to Matt Flack. I'm bullying the life out of him until he goes full time, and he's got the confidence to do it. He's also got the fucking bread, man. Even as part time, like, he's making like between 3 and 4 bags. Like that's where I want shooters to be. But actually, between 2 and 3 is enough for everyone to go full time. Because if you think I'm only working weekends and I'm making 2.5, 3 bags a month, like, holy shit, imagine what you could do if you went full time. And the cool thing with him is that his work is awesome. Who he works with is awesome. He started closing. What's that rattling, Jacob? Is that you?
No, no. Can you hear it still?
I can hear. Anyway, oh, it's away now. It's away now. The cool thing is that he went from like 0 to £400 a shoot relatively quickly because we gave him the systems, we gave him everything that he needed to, but he was shooting a lot more, even part time, so he's able to build the confidence to do that, and then went from 400 to closing like 1,000, 1,200 quid shoots because he also started to think, do you know what, maybe I should be confident enough to look outside of fitness, bodybuilding. And I'm going to say, that this is exactly what I coach. I don't want everyone to stop shooting fitness and bodybuilding, but having the confidence to think that you can be valuable enough in other demographics is another just supercharger of your business. But if you only think that you're only worth a couple £100 and that's what you're supposed to do, and you don't think you're worth having a business, and you don't have the confidence to stand up for yourself against clients, you don't have the confidence to price, you're just going to stay exactly where you fucking are forever.
Mm.
And what that does is brings the rest of the industry down because the hilarious thing is the amount of battles that I have with videographers where I'm like, they either don't have the confidence at all because it's who they are, and I can't teach that into them when I'm a stranger. They have to trust, first of all, to come into a process, which is coaching, community, whatever we want to call it. And if those ones keep saying no, then they stay there, dragging down the quality of everything we are trying to do, dragging down the rates, dragging down the expectations. Or you get the other ones that think that they're the absolute fucking dog's bollocks, but have never spent a day doing any business development whatsoever. And it's kind of just that lucky creative snowball that has
Mm.
got them to where they are. So I'm like, okay, I respect why both of those different ends of the scale exist, but it's like one has too much confidence, one doesn't have enough. Where's the middle ground? And that's something that I've always loved about people like you, mate, is that you've got the middle ground to know even your talk to cameras. See, your sit down basic bullshit is
Mm.
better than most people's commercial campaigns that I see on YouTube, mate. Right? Your basic wait, do it with your eyes closed is better than what most people do at the top of their game. So you could have the ego of being one of the that you earn double, triple what the highest earners and videographers do. You could have the ego of saying I'm the shit, which is overconfidence, Or you could have stayed at the bottom and said, oh no, I'm not worthy of any of this. But you've managed to just have this amazing level head middle ground where you're like, I know exactly what I'm worth these days. And I know that it's still going to increase because we don't even have you at rates that we will have you in the next kind of couple of quarters, I would say. So can we talk about if that's where the starting point was and the kind of fuck ups that we experienced from a lack of confidence? What was it? What changes did you start making? And please don't, you don't have to talk about us, quote unquote, even though I know that I'm going to be a bit of a part of it. But what were the changes that you started making that started reverse engineering confidence into you? And remember what I was talking about earlier, like all the bricks that I was giving you that you didn't know I was kind of giving you, but you're like, no, 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 you are gonna pay that. And why you're gonna pay it is because I've got T's and C's that say that you're gonna pay it. Simple back end type things like that. But talk to me about that evolution of confidence in the kind of middle of your business.
Just doing hard shit, even away from business.
Ah,
So a
right.
lot of people think, oh, I need to get confident in business. I need to just do more business. It's not how it works. You need to develop personally away from business because that will lead into business so much. Like the period where I was most confident, I would say, is when I was training for my fight last year. It didn't end up happening because I got quite ill, but that was the period I was most confident because you go through hard shit on a day-to-day basis, and it helps you understand about what like mental resilience, who you are, what you're actually made of, and if you can get in a ring and get punched in the face and go through that, then it's easy to send a quote off to a client for a couple of £100. The worst thing they can do is say no, it's too expensive. Like, but just even away from that, it's just challenging yourself mentally, I think, because you've got to understand what confidence is. As you said, you've got to reverse engineer it, and I think you nailed it with how you actually put it. But for me, it was, what is confidence? Confidence is just a byproduct of competence. It's like happiness is a byproduct of being
Wow.
fulfilled. So what is competence? How do you get competent? Well, it's repetitions and progressive overload. It's just like the gym. So, for example, I understood like I'm not going to go in and be able to charge 700, £800 for a shoe. I'm going to start lower and then build it up. It's just like when you first go into the gym, you're not going to stick 100 kilos on and bench it. You're going to start with the empty barbell, then you're going to put 5 kilos on, 10 kilos on, and you have to just progressively overload what you're doing over time, as well as it being hard. So like for example, in the gym, when you progress the weight, when you first jump up to that new weight, it's hard. There's a lot of stuff that we did when I first started increasing prices. I first started like changing my style to improve the actual quality of the product. It's hard because you're at a new level which you're not familiar with, but the you only gain the confidence from staying at that level, enduring the hardship, if you like, being chained to your computer for a bit too
Fucking,
much longer than you would think.
fucking suck it up. Fucking
Yeah, exactly. You
But,
just got to suck it
I
up.
can't, I can't do that shoot this weekend because I'm running around doing a creative meetup talking about
Mm.
lenses. No, you're fucking not. Get out into the industry and do your fucking reps. Can I just before you continue, can I hijack that just because there's a really important thing that we did at the very start of you, and it's the same thing that I always do with shooters, is that I need to remember. It's kind of like I know this sounds weird, but the first thing that popped into my head is when you're about to like kill a horse or something like that, is you have to pet it and make it your friend first, and then you just go bang between the eyes. So before we really mess you up as videographers, before we really throw you into the industry, we have to love you and nurture you and give you a little, oh, it's okay, don't worry, you'll be fine. And then it's like, haha, 25 shoots a month. Ah, you didn't see that coming. So what we do, or what I've always felt that's important, is that to give you that kind of nurturing and to make sure that you don't basically, we don't blow your face off too early, is that the changes we make in the business, I've always felt need to be foundational. So we do simple changes like T's and C's. We do simple changes like your grid. We change your onboarding system. We change your deliverables. We change everything before we even look at your rates. So you might be just stuck at 200 quid for a month, maybe 2 months or something like that. But it's because we need to kind of engineer confidence into us by starting with the easy things first. So, and I remember I said this to you a long time ago. There's two ways your business can be more successful. Successful. B, you make more money. Sorry, A, you make more money, or B, you get more time back. Right. So that's really the only two things we gauge success on is either growth or how better our life is. So what we do instead of like, how do we make people more money? We never really talk about money. You won't ever fucking see me being like, oh, come with us and become a 10K videographer. Like, no, exactly as you said so well, mate. That is a byproduct. Your money is a result of how well you fulfill your duties as a business owner according to the structure of housekeeping that I give you. Right. And your housekeeping is this is how your grid looks, this is how your story looks, this is how your DMs look. Here's your rates, here's your TRs, here's your T&Cs. Do it 365 times, then come back to me and complain if it didn't work. And it does. So just to touch on that, one of the best ways of building confidence in your early days, if you're because you only think about money, you're like, oh, how do I get my rates up, how do I get my rates up? And it's like, well, you need to be more to earn more, right?
100%.
How do you be more to earn more? And how do we bring a better quality of product? How do we have better onboarding to show the client we understand them? How do I have a better marketing approach so I don't look like a fucking hobbyist? How do I have more T's and C's so the client actually has legal documentation that shows that I'm not an idiot? Like, how do I create this business minded individual so that in return, I can ask the marketplace for more money. So be more to earn more. But yeah, carry on, dude. Carry on. That was I just wanted to hijack there.
No, no, it's all good. I think just to go on a bit of a tangent of what you just said, it's that like personal development ties into so much of what you just said about being
No,
more
yeah,
to
go
earn.
back to that, dude. That was dope. That was very
Yeah,
cool. I need to hijack that again. But you hijack my hijack, then I'll hijack yours because it's about the level of just anxiety fueled basket cases that I've coached are always the ones that don't go to the gym.
yeah. You know what? It's not
Half of
even
the
just
people
training.
listening here
Yeah,
are probably previous clients of mine that have cancelled and then went, oh yeah, sure, I don't go to the gym. I'm like, yeah, just learn how to pick stuff up and it might actually make you a business owner. So continue and then we'll talk about that.
no, no, 100%. It's be more to earn more, and people think, oh, that's like I've got to get better at color grade, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do that. And the best, like the highest leverage thing that you can do to actually be more is just gym, meditation, sleep, and diet. And if you focus on those things, doing the other things like um, researching color grading, improving products, learning how to listen to clients. These things will like just be easy to improve because these elements that you will learn in training and meditation and whatever you're doing, nutrition, your mind will be clearer. It will be so much easier to listen to clients, which means your onboarding process will be much better. It'll be far easier to be able to have the mental clarity and focus to be able to sit down and watch tutorials or listen to courses of experts talking about what you need to implement in your business so you can take that
Yeah, yeah.
rather than just being like, I need to work 19 hours a day to and just watch videos and tutorials of how to earn more money. Like it's just I just think there's other ways where you can leverage your time so much more that when you're actually sat down working on or in the business, the time you spend is actually way more valuable than like for example if I take care of myself and personal develop outside of business and I spend 8 hours working on my business a day, those 8 hours are going to be more than someone who's a slop and just spending like 12 to 18 hours a day just in the grind. Like so there's ways for me for example and for other people listening that I know you just leverage your time, and that personal development is the best way to do it. So going back to confidence, what's the best way to sort of improve confidence is to personal develop so you can be have more mental clarity, so when you're in the business working on the business you can far much more easily do the tasks that will move that needle forward, I think.
Mate, beautiful. You, who needs Joe Penny, man? I'll just have you on every day. Sorry, Joe, you're out, brother. You're out, brother. Love you, mate. I love you. So, confidence is competence, mate. So, to hijack that, the thing that I've noticed, I said this years ago. I can't remember who I said this to. I think it was one of my usual kind of old man conversations that I have with Ghost, because me and him are kind of like the same age, and we like to, like really two old dickhead grumpy men. We like to sit on our porch with a beer and just like criticize the world. So that's my therapy session when I'm having a session with him. And we've realized like he is one of the most Terminator clients I've got. He likes fucking get out of jail free cards, but he's like, yeah, sorry about those actions, Gus. But did you notice that I had a 15K month? I'm like, I don't give a shit, mate. Actions, let's get these done. But that's, maybe my coaching is right or wrong. I don't know. That's just the way that I am. I'm a very structure driven person. Um, but when he and I are talking, he realizes as well with all of his clients and he's like world champ kickboxer and does MMA and everything. And we constantly talk about how the people that always make it are the ones that have some form of structured personal development or mainly physical development in their life. The ones that I've always had that are just fall off of coaching within a day of signing up, never do any actions, heads are in the clouds. It's usually the ones, if not all the time, that don't train, that don't have any personal structure, very, very severely neurodivergent. But the funny thing is we can talk about ADD and ADHD and autism and all that crap as much as we want, but countless professionals will tell you how positively impacted those things are by training and diet and sleep, right? So you're not even combating neurodivergence. You're just trying to do training, diet, and sleep. You're just trying to get a personal routine. And you will find that those things in themselves start to fall into just really good structures, compartmentalization. But it's a lot of the ones that I can't even hold on to just to get them to show up for their own marketing because they've locked on to some type of fucking fairy tale that some other dickhead on Instagram's like, right, here we go. Here's the new talk to camera things that we're all going to start doing. And I'm like, it's either a massive lack of confidence in the structures that I'm giving you, which if you just sit down and do them, they will pay off, or there's a severe lack of personal structure that you have. And because you don't have that personal structure, you're not building confidence bricks in your personal life that will eventually trickle through to the business life. Mate, I love this, dude. Absolutely love this. So talk to me about talk to me about the some of the biggest kind of examples that you've had where like for me I've had to have big, it's always in the personal life. It's funny you say this, but it's the personal life for me. It's always relationships. Like I need to end this relationship because it's not going well. So I'm going to stay in it for 6 months because I believe, oh, this is really good. This was on an audio book I was listening today called, I need to find the name of it because it's a beautiful book. But it's just about the masculine development and stuff and how we show up in relationships. And I think there's a lot of fucking people that need to do that, never mind business development. And it was savage self-reflection. That was the phrase. Sorry, compassionate, savage self-reflection. So there's the two completely oxymoronic words, compassionate and savage, but both of them have to be done in self-reflection. And what I say, I usually say this is, do you know what? I'm gonna compassionately inquire with myself as to what is happening here. And this is what happens with clients as well. And I get it nowadays, coaching shooters. I'm like, who was I in that argument? Or who was I in that moment? What came out of me? What offended them? How was I triggered? And I think confidence, a big part of confidence in business was that I started personal development and how I show up in my relationships for my partners first. So when I was able to walk out of relationships after giving everything for a year and a half, 2 years, and it took me till I was maybe 30, 31 years old. I remember standing in my apartment one time, and after I finished a relationship with someone, absolute love of my life, and I just said to myself, well done, Gus. You can finally trust your own decisions.
Mm.
Right. And that came after I was fucked over by probably two or three of the biggest fitness brands in the planet. And I didn't know how to stick up for myself, and I had no confidence. Oh, damn, we should maybe talk about that before we run out of time because that's really interesting. But that relationship came after the biggest ways I was ever fucked over in business because I didn't have the confidence to stand up for myself and I got walked all over. And then that relationship taught me to trust my own decisions. So then moving forward, my whole business, my sleep just was so incredible. You know, my anxiety was at an all time low, my mental health was at an all time high. And it was just because I finally knew the one person that I needed to have my back was myself. And if I couldn't trust my own decisions, then the me that needed to have my back didn't fucking exist. It was as if there was this version of me that wanted to be trustworthy of himself, but he was carrying around version 2.0 of himself, which was a scared, falling apart, skeletal version that had no confidence and didn't believe that he deserved to stick up for himself. And I'm constantly asking this scared version of myself, please believe in yourself because you're affecting the future version of myself. And I can't move forward unless the previous version of myself starts sticking up for himself. So, anyway, sorry, hijack that, but it's very important. Yeah, let me talk to me about the kind of biggest shifts in confidence, specifically conversations that you've had, because I know that me and you and there's probably other clients that I've got that are listening to this where they're like, yeah, that I had to have a half an hour conversation with Gus in the DMs about one client. And that
Mhm.
was like the thing that changed it all for me. But talk to me about the big conversations, the big roadblocks that you got over in business to bring that confidence.
Yeah, firstly, what you said is bang on. And I think just to touch on this quickly before I go into, because I know what I'm going to say, it's but I think if you don't respect yourself, how can you expect others to respect you? That's in business, that's in relationships, and it's like growing up my whole life, I never respected myself. I was never, and I would get fucked over, whether that be relationships, whether that be friends, and then I brought that into business when I was first starting, so people would undercut, and I'd get fucked over, and I think it only came from respecting myself, doing hard things to show to myself, look, I'm living true to who I am. I'm doing hard. I'm doing what I say I'm going to do. I'm living true to my word, so I can respect myself, whether I succeed, whether I fail, whatever happens. I did what I said I was going to do, and that's all. That's all you can do. So I think,
Stack,
yeah, spot on.
stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you
Exactly,
fucking are. Yeah.
100%. But yeah, to go on to what was the big thing that turned the confidence wheel, it's funny because there's not like one moment I can pick out. It's over time. It's a gradual, incremental progress. But one thing I will say, um, and I'm not trying to sell anything here, but community is by far the biggest driver of confidence or growth, whether that be in business or personal life. Like, just to touch on a few, like,
Well, mate,
in,
I won't take it
yeah,
as me or gold standard because the cool thing that I notice is that all of yous create your own little subgroups,
yeah,
and then you make your friendships, and you start to
yeah,
become. It's like your the classic quote: "Your vibe attracts your tribe."
yeah,
So I need you guys to actually kind of pivot into each other's paths because
yeah.
you feed off each other eventually, and you notice the ones that don't. You know, the ones that never turn up for sessions, they never comment, they never ask. You're like, yeah, yeah, whatever. They're the ones that are like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, Gus. Thanks a lot. I'm like, fucking see you later. But yeah, continue, mate.
No, but that was me. Like when I was first went into the one to one, I was doing about 3 grand a month, and I was just looking around at all these like blokes, which is what they were. I was young. What was I? Probably 21. I'm like,
I remember you on the
what?
sessions as well.
Yeah, I didn't say a word, and I was really like sort of shy. Um,
Blokes.
but it's like you can be that person and then sort of develop. But for me,
Yeah.
it was the people you're spending time with. Like obviously, no, I'm not trying to slate anyone here, but like my friends, just most of them just do normal stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just like when you're trying to grow a business, you need to be around people who are trying to do the same thing. That's why like the people I hang around with now are other videographers who are on the same mission.
Yep.
I speak to them every day, and it's like that drives you in a different kind of way because I don't know where the quote's from, but you are the some of the five people you spend the most time with, and if you're around a bunch of dossers, then you're going to be the fifth dosser.
Well,
That's just
fucking
the only way of putting it.
Alfie's a bit of a fucking dosser, if you ask me.
Alfie's the I can't really say it.
It'll be
Keep
a
keep, keep
bit.
the podcast.
Mate, this is my podcast, brother. You can say whatever the hell you want.
All right, cool. But
Everyone,
yeah, I
everyone,
think
everyone knows
big
that
one.
I love them. Everyone knows they're part of the community.
Yeah, so like for example, someone like Alfie, shout out Alfie, but yeah, since we started like really sort of getting close, it's no surprise that his revenue skyrocketed, my revenue skyrocketed. We both become better people, and it's just from spending time with other guys in the industry who are pushing you, and it's one of them things, and this is where confidence ties into it as well. It's like that healthy masculine competition, which isn't really spoke about enough in like today's society. It's all this toxic masculinity stuff.
That's
Um,
you're fucking right. How long? When is your call? Your call's in 30 minutes.
yeah, it's
Right,
fine.
okay, we've got 28 minutes left. We can develop on that one because that's a
Yeah,
beautiful thing to talk about. And then it's important to when we talk about masculine and feminine, it doesn't mean male and female. It just means feminine is fluid, masculine is direction. That's the only thing.
Mhm.
So continue with what you're saying, then I'll hijack it when you're finished.
Yeah, sure. So it's that like for example, me and Alfie have a very healthy masculine competition. And it's like the one person's trying to beat the other person, but also you're taking little bits and little nuggets from the other person who is there's always something to learn from someone. So you're taking bits that you like from that person, and they're taking bits that they like from you, and you're growing together. And that it's just an easy way of just progressing so much faster. Whereas before, I would feel like I'm on my own. Yeah, there's a community of people, but I'm not like anyone. My values and in life don't align with X and Y person because let's be honest, this is coming from someone who's just pretty normal, right? Like I'm not one of these people who's interested in business at school. I didn't really touch a camera till I was 18.
Yep.
Like I just thought videographers were nerds. Like I
You
think you're just a
fucking
bunch of
are.
nerds. Like which you probably are. But when you meet other people like myself, like Alfie, like a couple of the other lads in the group, it's quite refreshing, and that in and of itself gives you confidence that what you're doing is right, you're on the right path. And once you progress, which you naturally will because you're trying to be better than other people,
Yep.
and that's not a bad thing, by the way, that's healthy and that's what we should be doing. You get confidence from that because naturally you progress. And it's like I was saying before, like confidence is a byproduct, and that confidence comes as a byproduct of progression, and that progression comes from that masculine competition. So if you to sort of take it full circle, where did the like biggest leaps in confidence come from? I'd say the core of it came from getting around other people who are on the same mission as me and challenging myself against them. That's the biggest thing.
So do you find that, just to finish off that kind of bit on confidence, do you find that that relationship with yourself is what really helps you have better relationships with other like-minded business owners?
Yeah, 100%. I think one thing that sort of to bring it back to when I was starting, one thing that actually really helped me, which is a bit strange, was when I was working delivery driving at Domino's, because what would happen is I had to spend a lot of time in the car by myself. And it was when I was going through quite a difficult period as well. And what I would do, I would literally just talk out loud to myself.
Yep.
It sounds
Yeah.
so weird, but I would
No.
talk out loud to myself and just talk to myself in a way that would be not kind, because kind's not really the right way of putting it. It's more in the sense of like honesty. So you just be honest with yourself. If you're doing something well, then tell yourself. If you need to improve, then then tell yourself. And I've just carried that into business. And yeah, that relationship with yourself, and I still do it now. Like I'll talk to myself if I'm analyzing, let's say, like the past week, what's been good, what's been bad. Tell yourself honestly, because no one's going to know really what's going on other than you. You know yourself and your business better than anyone else. So if you're honest and you have that good relationship with yourself, that's the best thing. You're onto You're on to a winner.
There's actually, I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to Google this book about talking out loud to yourself because there's a psychologist that I follow. I can't remember her name, but I do this. Uh, Mel Robbins, I think that's it. So it's a book called The Let Them Theory, I think the Let Them theory because I can remember it's Mel Robbins and Sawyer Robbins. So this is something that I've always done. I have full blown conversations with
Yeah,
myself where I am my antagonist, I'm my protagonist, I'm my critic, I'm my supporter.
yeah,
And yeah, it's very, very interesting just to be able to get out your head and
mm,
kind of lay everything on the table, like actually have your thoughts out there. The other book on what we were talking about earlier is by John Wineland, and it's called From the Core. And this was the one that said to have compassionate, but what did I say? Compassionate but savage
mm,
self-reflection.
yeah,
That was a huge, huge, huge confidence builder for me. Is before you have a go at anyone, before you engage with anyone, before you interact with anyone, self-reflection is the number one thing. Otherwise,
yeah,
all you're going to do is keep projecting. And I think a big part of your business, dude, is as we've had conversations over the years of me being like, shut the fuck up, sit on your hands just for tonight, come back at it tomorrow, tell the client this. So you've actually had to keep stum and absorb your own anxieties, absorb your own thoughts on what you think the client is thinking, what you think they're going to say, what you think is going to happen, and then approach it afresh after you've just spent a bit of time on it. So that compassionate inquiry with yourself is building bricks of confidence that you can trust your own thought process instead of being a white monster addicted basket case that only projects. You came through
yeah.
that. You came through that one quite well, mate. You came through that
Mm.
one quite well. No more white
100%.
monster for you.
Yeah,
Well,
that's it. It's as well. It's like oh, what was I gonna say? I've lost it. All right, I've lost it. I was gonna say something really. Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's like people sort of going back to speaking to yourself, and um, I know a lot of people struggle with this, and they're like, "Oh, but I'm just negative self-talk and just crying about it." And it's like, well, good. Something bad's happened. Good. Like that's the best thing because it will give you the motivation
opportunities.
to to get what you need. Like I was always so hard on myself, and I think a lot of things that this is a whole other conversation. But I did therapy when I was younger, and they would be like, "Yeah, just speak kindly to yourself." And it only was the point where I realized, do you know what? When I talk badly about myself, that's a good thing because it means I'm speaking about myself this way for a reason. It's the truth, and I'm critically analyzing. Sometimes you have to look at that negative self-talk and be like, is there any truth to that? Because sometimes there is, and sometimes it means that you can look at it and be like, right, okay, what actionable steps can I take right now to change that? And that's really where that sort of confidence originally stems from, is those actionable steps based off how you talk to yourself, how you reflect on what you've done, whether that be like you responded to a client or an inquiry and you didn't respond in the way you want. Like I still do it now sometimes. Like I'm not perfect. There's client inquiries that come through, and I'll respond a bit retardedly from time to time, and I'll fucking have a word myself and be like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, sort your shit out and go again." And it's a case of like, if there was anything to say to someone who isn't confident, who wants to get confident, don't try and shy away from that negative self-talk. Lean into it and let it be used to your advantage. Because what else are you going to do? What's the alternative? You just try and talk to yourself kindly. It's not going to work.
The phrase pops into my head where I know you don't mean it. You don't mean punish yourself or be an
No,
asshole to
no, not
yourself.
at all.
What
No.
you what you mean is it's just constructive criticism to the self, but then
Yeah.
also just cutting through the bullshit and being like you were a
Yeah.
fucking idiot in that moment. There's a really really good phrase I have with myself. And I really need to do it before things and not after them, where I just say out loud to myself, my exact words are, "Well, Gussie boy, not your best work," and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
and then I kind of move on. Yeah, I really need to start saying that before I fucking go into conversations instead of after it. Oh, Gussie boy, not your best work, son. Not your best work. Right, Master Jacob, I know you've got a call with a client who's going to give you loads more money for how amazing you are and all that stuff. Is there any kind of final thing you want to finish up on the note of confidence and the note of where you started versus where you are and what you would like to install in other creatives that might be building that confidence wall slowly but surely?
Yeah, definitely. There's one story I want to tell, and
Please, dude, give me it.
this
Go
is
for it.
this is the I've always wanted to tell this story, so I'm going to get this in before we go. But don't ever think anything is too small. I used to, so when I was working at Domino's, my thing was if I would every time I would get to a new house to deliver pizza, I would message 5 people on a cold outreach. Every time I'd get to a new house.
Nice.
And I used to think like this is so pointless. Like there's no point in doing this. And if you're in the gold standard, then Gus is probably getting on to you like you fucking do your outreach. But it's yeah, nothing's ever too small because of that. What happened was I got 2 clients from doing that. One was with me for an entire year and opened up a network of people that are still my clients this day and have generated me literally tens of thousands of pounds. And one of them is still with me today. And he's one of my biggest clients and got a fantastic relationship with him. So don't ever think like what your actionable steps are too small because like if you do it now and over time that will lead into like such big business for you and that'll bring it, as I said, it will bring you a byproduct of confidence. So I've always wanted to tell that story. I'll do it back in the day and I'll be like one day I'm going to tell that story, it's going to be cool. So there we go, maybe that's just a little selfish moment for me, but if you can take anything from that, it's
Mate,
sick.
for how far you've come, there's absolutely fucking nothing that's selfish. It's completely celebratory and celebration of what you've been able to achieve, mate. It's absolutely wild, absolutely wild. But to be fair, it's the exact rewards that I would expect of who you are, what you do, how you show up, and the level of confidence that you've been able to grow. So confidence is competence, mate, and I think you're one of the most competent shooters out there. So that's it, brother. Thank you very much for your time, dude. We'll wrap it up. As for the rest of you scamps, if there's any love and beautiful feelings that this has made you feel, do us a favor, give it a like, give it a share. My business coach keeps fucking shouting at me for this that I don't ask people to do anything, so they don't do anything. He's like, well, no one shares your shit, Gus, because you don't ask them to share it. You have to ask them. And I'm like, I shouldn't have to. It should be good enough so that they just do it. And he's like, nah, mate, it doesn't work like that. So please, if this has impacted you a little bit positively, give it a share it on your story, share it on your Instagram, share it with shooters that you might think need a little bit of this type of get up, a little bit of this type of support. And then if you are in a stage where you're thinking, maybe I do need to start taking this seriously, if you want to take the business a little bit further, feel free to DM me on Instagram at RGL Filmhouse, and I'll happily take a look at where you are, where you want to go, what's stopping you from getting there, and maybe we can help you out in the gold standard. Jacob, my dude, I love you and leave you. Thank you, brother.
Legend, mate. Nice one.